Hey y'all, Space Challenger here, and today's topic is ageism.
Heavenly Father, are you there? I need your mercy, 'cause I'm scared. Are you there? Listen here.
That's right, y'all.
I got something
Ageism.
that I
Ageism
want
in
to
all sorts of
share.
industries, pop culture, all kinds of spaces and places. And lately, I've been watching a lot of interviews with a lot of musicians and artists and listening to podcasts. And it seems like recently there's just been this focus on musicians and artists aging out. I mean, by 30 years old, like at that point, you supposedly have reached your apex of development and your potential and your ability to entertain people and to make great art and to perform. And I just think that's preposterous. I mean, yeah, it's one thing to play for entertainment and even have goals to be a celebrity, but those aren't the only reasons that we musicians and artists do art and make music. Because I do it not only to share with people, but for therapy. And so just the idea of someone aging out is preposterous. I mean, you can live your life growing and developing at something and cultivating a skill and just for mere enjoyment. And that's what I do. But I also am continually creating music to share with people, because it's the experience and the fulfillment of sharing it with people, not just for monetary gain or for celebrity, but just because of the energy given and the energy you get back, and for healing people or for moving people in an inspirational and loving way, and just to brighten someone's day. And to me, yeah, that's what it's all about. I mean, I've been playing music since I was a young teenager, about 12, 13 years old. And as you can see, I'm a mature gentleman. And with all of my studies at Berklee College of Music, and before that, we're just picking up the drumsticks and air drumming and going straight from air drumming to the drum set. You know, being self-taught just by watching videos, just by listening to music. Man, if we would have had YouTube back in the mid to late 80s, I would be out of this world. I'd be unstoppable. I am unstoppable because I'm not going to quit making music, and I'm not going to quit fulfilling my dreams and giving myself things to look forward to. Because that's what inspires me. That's what keeps me going. That's what brought me to this point that I am in my life and will carry me on. It's my guiding light. So, yeah, like recently I watched these podcasts, and there's always a way that an interviewer or an artist brings up age and how people age out. I mean, you know, I'm going to do it till the wheels fall off. I have so much energy. You know, on my days off from work, I get up, you know, before the crack of dawn, 5:30 in the morning, try my best to get out. You see, it's, you know, late spring now and almost summer, so it gets light earlier. So I like going out at the crack of dawn because it's so magical and quiet, save for the birds that are going off, you know, greeting the day, and it's so wonderful. Feels like I'm in a tropical paradise. It gets quite hot and humid here, so at that hour it's cool. But I go out there and I'm still in that dreamy state, and everything is so magical at that crepuscular moment. And then I run for like 3.5, 4 miles, and it's just the thing that gets me going. And I'm still youthful. I still have a lot of energy. I can still go. I mean, this battery is charged. And so aging out and just sitting back and sitting on the porch and watching life and time go by, to me, is just, I mean, I can never do that. And so when I hear people saying, yeah, you know, I'm in my 50s now and it's time to grow up and like do something else, and like, I just can't get down with that. And also, with that said, when it comes to music, there's this emphasis that it's all about youth culture and being young and looking young, and like that being, you know, the status quo. It's crazy because, think about it, I was born in 1975, and it was around the time when I was about 5, 6 years old where I realized what was going on around me, particularly on television and music and pop culture. You know, in the late 70s, there was a show called James at 15, and the main character's name was Lance Kerwin. And all of the content on that show was based on the character being a young teenager and experiencing life and dealing with the situations and circumstances they were in as a teenager. And that show was geared towards people in that age group. Whereas at the same time, you had a TV show called All in the Family, which was an adult content-oriented show that dealt with a lot of the political and social issues at the time. Hell, we're still dealing with those issues right now. But they were dealt with in a satirical way, but it was all geared towards an adult audience. And there was a distinction for what they were conveying. And then at the same time, with music, there was music that was catered to a teen or young demographic, and there was music that was catered towards an adult audience. For example, there was an artist by the name of Leif Garrett. Okay, he was a teen idol. If you're my age or older, you probably remember this guy. He didn't write his own music, but he had songwriters for him that would write music specifically for the teen audience. And then along with that, you had different magazines that were catered towards young people, like Teen Beat magazine. And then on the other hand, you had music that was considered for adults and dealt with adult content, you know. And when it comes to music and movies and anything, there were R ratings and PG ratings for a reason, because it was specific to an adult audience, and then like R-rated movies, and then PG audiences or movies that was catering towards a younger audience. And then you got to think about what PG stands for even. That's parental guidance. And now PG, it doesn't even stand for that, because kids have so much access through their phones and the internet and stuff like that, where they can access R-rated material. And so they just have more access to those things now. Whereas back in the day, you know, there was a clear divide between who was supposed to be consuming what. And back to what I was saying about adult content in music, okay, we can talk about the content that was dealt with in the songs, but we also think about the people that were singing the songs. And they were adults covering this content. Say, for instance, in the 70s, Mavis Staples, she was a grown woman and sounded like an adult and was dealing with adult content and things that adults were dealing with. Then you can think about James Brown. He was dealing with adult content. Sometimes some of the content, like Sex Machine, when that came out, it was considered lewd at that time, but that was adult content, and he sang and sounded like an adult. You can think about Wilson Pickett, Otis Redding. They sang and sounded like grown men. You have Etta James. Now, she started her career when she was about 13, maybe 15 years old, but she sang about adult content and sang and sounded like an adult. Then you can fast forward back into the 70s. someone like Barry White, did he sound like a teenager? No, he had a really deep voice. He sounded like a man. He sang and sounded like an adult and sang about adult situations. Um, but over time, it seems like there's just been this like shrink of the space between the adult audience and the youth audience, and now it's all about the youth and them consuming this content and marketing towards the young audience, and then saying that older people have aged out. It's just ridiculous. I mean, right now I play about 6 instruments, and I'm looking forward to, by the time I'm 70 years old, I'll be playing like 10 instruments, because I enjoy playing music and learning, and just the tactile experience of playing the drums and plucking the guitar and the bass and singing and then playing trumpet and saxophone, and looking forward to playing French horn and getting my keyboard chops back, and then going back and playing more of the percussion that I've learned and been exposed to, and picking up the berimbau, the Brazilian string instrument for capoeira music, and then just like getting back into that and exploring different styles of music, getting better as a songwriter and producer, and mixing and mastering music, and then just focusing on my voice. You know, I've just got to the point where I've found my sound. There was a time where I was exploring a lot of instrumentation and different musical styles, and so the music that I was creating and putting out was a little bit all over the map. But recently I've really honed into my sound. Say, for instance, with the content that I focus on in my music, my writing style, my approach, my aesthetic, and then my voice. And I found that I've gotten to a point where I realized my voice and how to use my voice and my singing style. And then with that process, it has helped me distinguish myself from other creators. And that's not my sole goal, but just through that process, that's what I've realized. I mean, there's so much to explore, and I have so much to share. So and then one genre of music that really focuses on the age and the ageism thing is hip hop music. I mean, so many rappers and people that consume rap music say that it's a young man's game, and that is just so crazy, because that's not the case with artists like Willie Nelson, Bob Dylan, and Bruce Springsteen, Tina Turner. I mean, look at it. Back in the 80s, Tina Turner was a pop star. Bruce Springsteen was a pop star. These were all mature people singing about mature issues and things that were going on at the time. A lot of social issues, a lot of political issues that a lot of young artists now in rap music don't even cover. I mean, it's talking about getting drunk and doing drugs and a lot of lewd activity and being reckless with life and playing games with life. French kissing the chaos, you know, and that is pop music and pop culture. And that wasn't acceptable back in the day. I mean, there was a time where that, profanity wasn't allowed on records or in mainstream television. But now it's a free-for-all. I don't know if you remember, but back in the mid-'80s, when the green light was given to artists to express themselves by using profane language, on the cover of those albums and tapes and CDs, they had to put the parental advisory warning on the cover of that, so that in any event that a kid was listening to it, the parents had to review the music and see what the content was on those albums, and then they could decide if it was suitable for the kids to listen to. But now it's not that way. There were restrictions back in the day, and a clear line between what was consumed by the youth and adults. And so back to the artists of the 80s, I mean, you had Elton John. He started his career in the late 60s, early 70s when he was young, but the pinnacle of his success was when he was an adult. And they were selling out arenas and stadiums with like tens of thousands of people attending their concerts. You had, who else? I mean, even a jazz artist like Miles Davis, You know, he started his career in the 40s, but by the mid-late 80s, he was already well into his 60s, and he was selling out arenas and stadiums. But he was a pop star, a jazz musician, showing up in like an episode of Miami Vice, which was one of the most popular shows in the mid-80s. He was in a lot of ads in magazines, you know, promoting motorcycles for Suzuki as what people would consider an elderly man, an elderly musician, and that was back in the 80s, but he was a pop star. There was no age cap. I mean, the list goes on, but now it seems like there is this effort to promote the youth and everything being, having a short shelf life. And there's no music and content and art created with the sole purpose of having staying power and being part of the fabric of our culture and having some meaning and some depth and something that is passed down and through generations, and to be part of, especially, you know, the culture of the U.S. I don't know, it's just crazy. I don't know, just let me know your thoughts and leave them in the comments, because I think it's a serious problem. You know, have you noticed this? But anyway, check out my music at spacechallenger.bandcamp.com. That's spacechallenger.bandcamp.com. I've got some great, sweet music there that can be considered, I guess, mainly rock, but there's so much nuance gleaned from so many different styles, like jazz, R&B, Brazilian bossa nova, and a lot of heartfelt content, introspective content, fantastical content, and yeah, just imaginative. And you can see a couple of the videos from my latest releases of the song called Personal, and one called The Ladder. I did a couple of videos for those. They're on my YouTube channel, so please go ahead and check those out and enjoy those. I filmed those all in-house. I did not hire a professional videographer. I did those on my own with the help of my son and my daughter. And I write and record and produce all my music and play all the instruments on my own. The only other help I have is my mixing and mastering engineer. Otherwise, it's all done DIY. And I'm really proud of this music. I hope you enjoy it and take the time to check it out. But yeah, I don't know if you noticed this thing about ageism and us aging out, because I still got a lot that I want to express and share with you, a lot of energy, and still strong. And if you are someone that is older like me and are still living your life, and whether you're an artist or not, and you have a lot to give, yeah, don't give up. Don't give up on your dreams, and don't stop being creative and sharing your art with the world. And I look forward to seeing what you have to offer too. But yeah, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel. And yeah, again, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And always remember, breathe in, breathe out, because that's what it's all about. Peace.